I'm Derek Mitchell with the Atlanta chapter.
And I'm Elizabeth Wisler with the Athens chapter.
And today, we gonna have the pleasure of hosting the NSA at Home Keynote interview with Dr. Cleavon Gilman. This session will consist of two parts. Beginning with our interview with Dr. Gilman, and ending with a Q&A session with several NSA members.
Cleavon Gilman, MD, was most recently an emergency physician in New York City, but his start in the medical field began after he enlisted in the Navy.
Dr. Gilman's military career ultimately led him to becoming a combat medic with the Marine Corps. After his start in the medical field, Dr. Gilman graduated from the University of California, San Francisco School of Medicine in 2016.
Since then, Dr. Gilman has been recognized for his work by being named one of the 45 under 45 influencers in emergency medicine.
And also by winning the National Academy of Medicine's Expression of Clinician Well-Being Art Contest for his work as a hip-hop artist.
Most recently, Dr. Gilman has used his voice and influence to raise awareness about the severity of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Through journaling about his experiences on the front line on his website, cleavonmd.com, Dr. Gilman has been able to give invaluable insight into the impact of the pandemic on public health and healthcare workers.
As a result of his online journal, he has even had the opportunity to be interviewed by former Democratic presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke.
So we are looking forward to hearing some of this insight firsthand today. And it is truly our pleasure to welcome Dr. Cleavon Gilman to the NSA at Home. All right, so
should I begin with the first question?
Let's get right to it.
All right. So you've accomplished a lot already in your life. Were you ever discouraged from pursuing your dreams, either being in the military or becoming a physician, because you stutter?
Yeah, I think having a speech impediment even as a child, all of us have trouble with talking, have a speech impediment, and you know that a grade school, middle school, high school is extremely hard to have a speech impediment. And I come from a poor family. My mom, she had two kids. She worked 3 jobs, and so I wasn't really expected to be anything in life. And so I've always had doubts growing up of what I was going to do in life. When I was growing up, I tended to do more sports than anything because I didn't have to talk that much. And so I was a pitcher. I played basketball as well. One of the things we do when we have speech impediments is we try to, at least me personally, I try to be better in everything else. So, for example, if I can't talk, I said, well, I'm going to have neat handwriting. I'm going to learn every word in the dictionary so that I can, if I have a block on tree, I say stick, I word substitute to get through things. I know I'm not supposed to do that, but it's hard sometimes. You know, you got trouble talking and you're just trying to get through that word and you just have that block. So, it's been a long journey. It has not been easy. It's been, I've had my ups and downs in college as well. A military experience. So, we all have our good fluency days and our bad fluency days. And on those days I'm having a bad fluency day, I'm just like, I kind of joke about it too sometimes because, we live with this, right? And it has nothing to do with intelligence. I know everything I want to say. I just have that block that I'm like, I got to get through this.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to those childhood experiences. I'm sure we all have had a lot of those, and they can be very difficult, especially at a young age, to figure out how to navigate that. And so I kind of want you to go back a little bit and kind of talk about some of those challenging experiences that you had as a child, as a teenager, and kind of how that factored into you dropping out of school at some point.
Yeah, so what happened is when I was, I believe, a sophomore in high school, my mom changed high schools. And I had just, I grew up in a town where everyone knew I had a speech impediment. I had gone through that kindergarten up to 10th grade. Everyone knew about this. I remember being in the 3rd grade and I walked into the classroom and someone wrote my name, Cleavon, on the board. And, those cruel things, they stay with you. So when I transferred high schools, it was that whole brand new experience again. You would have to introduce yourself in class. And everyone was like looking at me as if I, had a intellectual disability. And I knew everything I wanted to say, I just couldn't say it. And so in high school, I did the work. I did great in my classes. I did all my homework, but people would just tease me every day in class and school. Just had these jokes. And so the thing I hated the most about high school, I'm gonna tell you, is when you had to read in class and they went down the rows and I was like, oh man, I'm coming up next. Oh, I'm coming up next. And then so what happened is, once I had those experiences over and over again, I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna read. I'm not gonna embarrass myself anymore. And so I did that. And the school viewed that as being disobedient and being in school suspension as a result of that. And at some point I began smoking weed. I was like, I'm gonna try smoking weed. I'm gonna see if that helps me out with my speech impediment. It didn't help me out at all. It just made me more paranoid and I didn't enjoy it at all. So I ended up just not going to class. I dropped out. I had the grades to pass though, so it's a very interesting thing. Like you have to, in my school, you actually had to attend attend class in order to get credit. So I passed everything. I did all my exams, but they held me back, and so I just ended up dropping out. I was, I believe, 17 at the time, and then I enrolled in next year afterwards, and I just went through. I graduated. I passed. But then what happened is, I'm going to tell you something about going on your first job interview, right? So I went on a job interview at this men's warehouse type of place. And I show up there. I don't have the proper clothes because I'm poor, right? I don't know how to tie a tie and things like that. So I show up there and I can't talk and I can't speak. And they're just like, oh, lost opportunity for you, Clee. And, it is what it is. And so from there, I worked at worked in a trash pit, like where you jump in the trash and you pull out things and it's a horrible job. And then there was a pianist over there. He was like, "Why are you working here?" And I was like, "I don't know why I'm working here." And so I took a forever lunch and I just quit. I never went back. Joined the military after that.
Nice.
I saw in an interview you had with Beto O'Rourke, at the beginning you disclosed that you stutter. Is that something that you find yourself doing a lot? Do you do it, like, for example, with patients?
I do it. Not so much with patients. It depends on if I'm having a bad day or something like that. But I've learned in my 40 years of having a speech impediment that if I disclose this, if I advertise this, it's easier on me and it's easier on a person who I'm talking to, that they're not as comfortable. They're not as uncomfortable if I have a block, because I'm not trying to hide who I am no more. It's too hard. It's like I'm trying to have perfect fluency, and I'm not going to have perfect fluency. In the hospital, my stuttering hasn't been an issue. I talk with my patients. I think more of the times I get asked about my credentials is more about being a Black physician than having a speech impediment. So they will ask things like, "Where'd you go to school at?" I'm like, "UC Berkeley, UCSF, Columbia, Cornell." Like, it's more of that type of, like, proving who I am. But with patients, I've never had trouble communicating with them. I would say that the interesting thing is, if you are running a code in the hospital as an ER doctor, I'm a quiet code runner because I can't scream and shout stuff. I'm like, "All right, everyone." I have to bring it down a notch because it's hard. I do have blocks. Like, I'm not gonna front and say I don't have any blocks, but I'm like, let's get the vital signs. Let's put the patient on the monitor. Here's what we're gonna do. And what kind of happens in the hospital is that people know what to expect, and so you develop a rapport with your nurses in the hospital as well, and your team. I think, if anything, having a speech impediment has given me a greater appreciation for those who are underserved or have disabilities. It's taught me to listen before I speak. I mean, there are many times I could have gotten in trouble if I did not have a speech impediment, and I had that block, and I'm like, I'm glad I didn't say that thing.
So I want to see if you can kind of expound on, you mentioned how you deal with the code situation now. I wanted you to kind of go back to when you first enlisted in the military, to being a combat medic, and then to medical school. How did you train yourself to deal with those high pressure, high stress situations and still be able to communicate effectively?
Yeah, I think that's more about you accepting that you have a speech impediment. I accepted I had this in the boot camp. Oh man, you're taking me back some memories now. Boot camp, and so in boot camp, when you first get there, you have to line up, and and you would go in that row again, and people sound off who they are. What was it? Recruit Gilman or something like that, and man, they all began attacking me, and it's not as bad as you may think it is. I think we put a lot on ourselves, but everyone has a problem, in something. No person is perfect, but I think with me personally, I had to just remind myself that I'm an intelligent person. Like I'm going to have my trouble talking. The hardest part of all of this is when you begin a new job. And so, I worked on a cardiology floor, and I would have to talk to patients about the medications I was giving them. And I would say as I've gotten older and older and older, my fluency has improved. It's just, we just, I think we just care less as we get older. Like, you're just like, this is who I am. And so, being in Iraq, I didn't really have, I have trouble speaking, but it never really interferes with patient care. You kind of, with me personally, I kind of just adapt and overcome any situation I'm in, and I kind of turn a negative into a positive. But I found that if I word substitute, that helps me out. If I take a deep breath and I just kind of calm down sometimes, that also helps. But then there's days I just have trouble talking, and I just don't feel like talking, and I'm just like, I'm not having a good day today. I just don't feel like talking today.
So I want to go a bit deeper into the experience, because medical fields and the military are two fields that people who stutter really have concerns about going into. And so I'm glad that you said that it's not as bad as you think. To kind of assure people that the fear of it might not be as bad as the actual experience. But you did mention that you did get some pushback at first. So was it a situation where over time, through your work ethic and really showing what your skill set was, and how you could contribute, that kind of made things a little bit better as far as interacting with other people?
Yeah, I think what's pretty hard is that I had to do a lot of catching up. When I was young, my mom, she tried to help me out, and she would speak for me. That actually hurt me. That hurt me in the long run, because when I was on my own, I had to speak for myself. And so when I was in high school and in the military, I had to learn to speak for myself. I had to order for myself as well. And I had to, in college, it's hard because you have to publicly speak. Like, I can't say I'm not going to give a presentation, oral presentation anymore. I have to actually go through that. And what I've learned is the more that I practice that oral presentation, the more I do it over and over again. And like, I have my own tricks. Like, I would record my oral presentation, and I would put that. Of course, it takes us like 3 times the amount of effort to give a talk. But I would record myself, and I would actually play it on a tape recorder to try to help me have those words there to flow through it a bit smoothly. But yeah, there's no easy way through it. You just have to keep on pushing. It's especially you're actually bringing up an interesting point as well too. With medicine, there's all these terms and words that are just hard to pronounce for the general public. And so what I would do is I would record those, and I would have my own bank of the pronunciation of the words. And just every day you just get up and you just got to keep pushing, no matter if you're having trouble talking or not. I think you also have to remind yourself that we do have a disability. Like you may not want to think of it as that, but we are at a disadvantage compared to our peers, and that can compound if you're a person of color, if you're a woman, if you're if you're, other issues as well too. So.
May I ask a few
Yeah.
questions about your hip hop career?
Yeah.
Okay. Just what made you kind of get into that? I noticed you had some videos, like especially maybe geared toward medical students. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah. So that actually goes into the other question, right? Is an outlet. If you have a speech impediment, you need an outlet of some sort, right? And so, luckily for me, when I was 12 years old, my mom won tickets to Camp Cool J. LL Cool J had a camp, and there I learned how to rap. And then so I put on beats, and I began rhyming, and I was like, look, I don't have trouble speaking if I rhyme. So as I was growing up, 12 to the age I am now, I've always made music. I made music about my dad not being there. I've made music about social issues, about having trouble talking. That is also important as well too, because that's an outlet for us, right? I am having fluency if I do music. So what happened is about 2 years ago, we had an educational class. We had to do a presentation. It's always these oral presentations again, right? That also so I had to do an oral presentation on rashes, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make a song about rashes, and I'm gonna just rap the song. I'm gonna just rap about it. So then I created a song about that, and people actually enjoyed it, and actually it made the class more enjoyable. So I'm very blessed in the sense that if I rhyme, I don't have trouble speaking, and I have that fluency. So I take that, as a gift from God, and I use that. So I began rhyming about things in healthcare, pronouncing the words, etc., and people have really enjoyed that. Again, it's been very interesting for a person who has a speech impediment. I've been able to get my voice out there in many non-traditional ways, and I've been really fortunate to have that in my skill set.
So you may have already answered this question, but I still want to ask: when did you really fall in love with hip hop? And do you think that having a stutter gives you a unique approach to it that other rappers wouldn't take?
That's a very I fell in love with hip hop ever since I was a child. Like, I have a musical brain. Like, I don't hear music how other people hear music. I hear the beats. I hear the wordplay. I hear the lyricism. I hear the syllables. So I've always appreciated words, and that's very, I've always had trouble pronouncing words, and yet I appreciate them. I appreciate that challenge. To say, I think I have a greater appreciation for hip hop music than a person who does not have a speech impediment, because it provides that extra fluency that I'm able to be free. I can't even explain, like when I have on a beat and I'm rhyming, I'm like, is this how it feels to not have a speech impediment? Because this feels wonderful, yo. I'm like out there like da 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 da. I'm like, oh, I get so high off of it. I'm like, wow, and my chest isn't tight anymore from having a block and going like all day long. I'm like, wow, this feels amazing, yo. Like, is this how it is? Because if it is, shoot, must be nice, right? Must be nice.
Pandemic, you can't get it. If you can't breathe, then that means you should get tested. Otherwise, stay inside so you can't spread it. COVID-19's on the rise, it's a pandemic. We are in the dark, cause we're weeks behind the start. Try to scream for a cause with a patient is still not taken by chills, but viral shedding. Stepped in, almost certain he would die. Laid eyes on the sun, all I heard was a shrill cry. Inside, filled with a million tears. For a second time, my son killed this year. It's impossible to clear my mind and rest. The way hospitals juxtapose life and death.
I will rise up now.
Bend but don't break, keep hope in your faith.
I will rise up now.
No vacation, see the
It's apparent from listening to your music that you definitely have a love and a passion for it. And, you know, I would really call you a lyricist because, you know, just how do you make metaphors and rhymes with medical terminology? I've never heard that before. I mean, it's pretty impressive. So I would call you a lyricist, and you know, based on what I've heard, you know, like just on one song that that you've done, I would say that you fit more meaningful content into one song that a lot of rappers who get paid millions of dollars can't do on a whole album.
Right.
So your passion and love for it is very apparent.
Thank you. Yeah, no, yeah. I get my board review book. I put the keywords in there. You know, the other thing is that you have to learn how to learn as well too, right? You do the visual learning, auditory learning, tactile. I got a little bit of music learning, a little bit of movement learning in there too. So you know, you just got to make it enjoyable.
Right.
So did you have anything else to add, Derek? Oh, I was going to say before we open it up to the audience, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about yourself or your experience?
I think I remember being a young kid. I think I was 8 years old or so, and I picked up a book, and there was a physician who had a speech impediment. And at that time, a seed was planted. I didn't know it was planted, but the opportunities of what you could be in life were actually planted into my brain. And there's a lot of kids out there now, young, all ages, who are thinking what the possibilities are for them in life. And I would say that anything is possible for you. Anything. You just have to put in the work. Yeah, you're gonna have to work 3 times harder. It is what it is. I can't fix that. We can't fix that. That just is what it is. But you are intelligent. You are driven, and you're gonna have your bad days and you have your good days. But you have to learn how to talk. You have to learn how to advocate for yourself. You have to read. You have to be educated. You have to know your rights. You have to know policy. But don't give up on yourself. You got to keep pushing.
Thank you. We definitely appreciate that message, and that's something that is needed and will definitely resonate with this audience.
For sure.
Hello, I'm Patrick. I'm calling from Cambridge in England, and I came to the NSA conference last year, which is how I got involved in this gig. So Cleavon, you've already touched on this, but I just wondered if you could expand on it a bit. For background, I'm a pediatric doctor. I just wondered if you could tell us a little bit about how your stutter has benefited your work as a doctor and the patients who you care for.
Yeah, having a speech impediment, as I alluded to a little bit earlier, is that when I was young, I really learned how to listen to people opposed to always talking, and I learned how to read people as well. That's also a very important thing as a physician. So listening to my patients when they come with a complaint, being there for them at the bedside, holding their hands, explaining things very thoroughly to them, using other modalities besides speech, right? Drawing things out if I have to, writing things out for them. I just think that growing up with this speech impediment has just given me a whole other view of life, and appreciation for those who, who are underserved, who just have it harder than us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that.
All right, boss. Oh, I have a question for you, real quick.
Oh,
why do
go
people
on.
in Britain call it a stammering opposed to a stuttering?
I have no idea. No idea whatsoever. Just one of those weird transatlantic quirks. Why do you spell colour without a U in it?
I know.
You'll never understand.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is David, and I am the chapter leader from the palace. I think that the majority of people that quote unquote overcome their order, have like some moments where they decide if that they won't let their speech get in the way of something they really want. Can you share some of those moments throughout your life?
Yeah. So I've so speaking to like not letting your speech impediment block things you want to do in life. I think joining the military was one, right? It's very fearful. You know, you're going to be on your own. You know you're going to have to talk a lot as well. I think that jump of going from when I was out in Iraq and I saw a lot of poverty out there, and then I came home here and I was like, you know what? Like, I have a speech impediment. Like, I got to work too. I got to pay my bills. I deserve good things in life. I'm not going to just pick a job to bag groceries because I have trouble talking. Like, I deserve to be happy. I put the work in. And so that was a huge jump going into college where you have to read, you have to be involved in a class. You know what? I want to say something that's pretty interesting as well too, because I'll be honest with you. I've kind of shied back from doing interviews with the national press I did an interview and I didn't feel that well about it. I didn't feel like I came across how I wanted to come across. I felt like that image of me was misrepresented. It was not who I was. I wasn't having a good talking day, and it was put out there, and I was just like, well, I don't want to do any more interviews if it's not gonna represent who I am. So what did I do? I didn't quit talking, right? I bought a video setup here, so I'm gonna do my own videos, right? I'm gonna do them. I'll do as many takes as it takes until I get the image that I want out there of me. I'm not gonna have some image of me like having a block and then they're like chopping up the footage of me and now it's out there. So, I get embarrassed as well too. Like I have things I want to say, and just because I'm having a bad day doesn't mean that. And then it's out there now, so I'm like, oh God. Also, very importantly too is that I'm in a primarily a Spanish community out here, or there's a large majority of it. I did take a Spanish class, and I'm gonna be honest with you again too. Look, I'm an honest dude. Like I'm gonna keep it real with you 100. I took Spanish for 3 years. I don't speak Spanish because it's hard to speak in another language. Like I can speak it, I know how to conjugate the terms, but I'm gonna have to approach that soon, right? The time is here where I can't hide from that anymore. So it's you just have to. I've kind of run from it long enough now, so then I have to like practice my Spanish. Me llamo es Cleavon Gilman, so yeah.
Todo.
It's hard, bro. So yeah, just gotta keep pushing, man. Keep pushing.
Good. Gracias.
De nada. Gotcha.
Hi, my name is Darren, and I'm a scientist from New York City, and formerly a co-leader of the Brooklyn chapter of the National Stuttering Association. My question has something to do with imposter syndrome. You sort of addressed this a little bit in the last question. I feel like how you dealt with difficult situations. But I guess for my own experience, I've experienced a lot of imposter syndrome throughout my training as a scientist, because my job requires a lot of communication, whether that be public speaking or just explaining how things work with my colleagues. And I've found that to be very stressful and very challenging. And there was moments where I thought that maybe this just isn't for me. So I was wondering how you handled imposter syndrome, if you ever experienced it, which would be hard to believe if you didn't. Yeah.
Imposter syndrome is real. And the first time I actually felt imposter syndrome was in medical school. And it was a bunch of us, and we were all people of color. There were like 12 of us, and we were like, we don't feel like, we feel like we're faking it until we make it. And that's just in any type of profession that you're gonna feel imposter syndrome. Like okay, so look, like I've been training now for 20 years or 21 years, right? And so I just graduated a residency right now, and now I'm gonna be an attending on my own, right? And so there's that type of insecurity where, wow, like, I'm on my own. I don't know if I can do it, or it's just this, anxiety that you have, but you've put in the work. You are prepared. You've probably put in 3 times the amount of work to be in the position that you're at right now. Anytime you want to think of imposter syndrome, I want to remind you, I'm sorry to be political, but Trump is the president. I'm just saying, like, look at that. I mean, come on. That's imposter right there. But you are prepared. You put in the time, and it's just that when you have those bad days where I had a hard time in med school with the exam. I'm not a good exam taker. I'm not. Like, it's just very hard for me to take exams. I had to learn how to take exams. I grew up, I didn't grow up taking 8-hour exams or 3-hour exams. And so when you do, when you have trouble with that, you're gonna doubt yourself. But I'm not a great exam taker. But then I ended up passing, and I went to residency where I flourished, right? Where I flourished with my patients, where I flourished with talking to them. And so you have your strengths and you have your weaknesses. I would rather be a better physician in the hospital than to be able to take an exam. In terms of communicating with people in your field, that's hard, right? You really can't avoid that. Your a livelihood depends on it. Your promotions, and you're just keep pushing and saying, and I tell people I have a speech impediment. Look, it is what it is, and I gotta talk. You just gotta sit through it. Sorry, you gotta sit through my block. Sit through
it. Thank you for sharing. You have a very inspiring story. So
thank you. It's been a long. It hasn't been easy, man. It hasn't been easy. I just pushed through, man. I try to make light of things because it's a long journey, and you have to you can't beat yourself up for everything. You're gonna have your bad days. I also want to point out that I have a great my fiance. She's been with me for 16 years, and I've had a great. We've been a great team, and she supports me in a lot of the things, and she also has pointed out things as well. I would also tell you that when we first met as well, I would not introduce her, and she was like upset about that, and I didn't introduce her because I had a speech impediment, and it was very uncomfortable for me. And then she said, "How come you don't introduce me? You don't want to be with me? You know what's going on here?" And I was like, "No, I have a stutter, and I can't pronounce your name, which is Maribel." And so that's how your speech impediment can be misinterpreted as things. So eventually, I started introducing her properly, but that's how things get misinterpreted.
Thanks again.
For sure.
Hi, Cleavon. Thank you for the great story. It's been nice listening to your story and your experiences. My name is Aisha, and I am the co-chapter leader of the Columbia, South Carolina chapter. So my question is, if you could make people who don't stutter understand one thing about stuttering, what would it be?
Yeah, I think it's it's this misperception that people who have a speech impediment have an intellectual disability, and has having trouble talking is not the same as having an intellectual disability. And many times in my life, I was teased because and I'm a very intelligent person. I'm just a very quiet person. I would just have trouble talking, and there's this perception out there of that, and it's not true. So that's just what I want people to get out of. That we do have trouble talking. However, we can do any job out there. Any job that you can do, we could probably do better because we grind to get to this point that we've been at. And we had to overcome a lot of adversity to be in our position right now.
Thank you.
for sure.
Hi, Cleavon.
Hey.
My name is Mark. I live in the Atlanta area, and I work in hospital administration here at the VA in Atlanta. I first want to just thank you for all that you're doing in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. And I just wanted to ask you, can you share with us a little bit as far as what it's been like being in the front lines and fighting this pandemic?
My name is Cleavon Gilman. I'm an emergency room doctor here in New York. I'm on the front lines of the coronavirus pandemic. This virus is a Trojan horse. In some patients, it does not even present with any symptoms at all, but it's highly contagious, highly, and it's spreading across the country. I realize that many of you are at home right now wondering why you're in the house, right? You don't see patients on the streets. The patients are in the hospital, yet you have no access to the hospital. Each day I write after my shift about the things that I'm seeing.
Yeah. So I would say back in March in New York, we knew the pandemic was on its way here. I'd been talking to people in Italy at the time on Facebook groups, and in New York, we began seeing patients who were young, 20 years old, who were very hypoxic, oxygen in the 60s, when normal oxygen is a 95 and above. And the hospitals were overwhelmed there. We're talking about hundreds of patients. We had 20,000 people lose their lives in 10 weeks. This actually, and a large part of that job is being able to talk to loved ones when their family members in the hospital. And so my personal thing was that I had a chair in the hallway I would use. It was very quiet, and I would tell them, that your mom, your brother, your child is very critically ill and will likely die. And I think being able to communicate, I speak very low and calm, so I didn't really have a whole lot of blocks at that time, and also had a script as well. I think all of us should have a script that we can draw upon, so that if we have we have some type of organization to give our information. And FaceTiming with loved ones, and their mom passing away right there. And good thing that Governor Cuomo closed down New York, because if not, there were probably 20,000 more deaths after that, because we really didn't have anywhere to put the patients at. And so that kind of calmed down, but there's a lot of trauma with that. You see, it's unusual to call 3 families at a shift to tell them that their loved one has passed away. And then here I am in Arizona now. I just got here, and Governor Doug Ducey here, he's not shutting down the state. He's not mandating masks. We're having 3,500 people infected per day. I began my shifts on July 16th, but it's like that in Florida as well too, where this is a horrible disease, and so getting this psyched up for that again, and it's going to be horrible. We've already had 128,000 dead already. Yeah.
Well, thanks for all you're doing.
I appreciate it. Thank you, man. You be safe. You wear that mask and stay 6 feet apart.
Definitely.
Thank you so much, everyone, for the thoughtful questions. That was a great session, and we really appreciate you all joining us. So we are coming to a close here, and so I want to give Dr. Gilman the final word to talk to our audience and give any messages that you would like to leave us with.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I've never really known a lot of people who've had speech impediments before, and it's really great to have a community where everyone knows that part of your life that you really don't talk about much. That's there. It's it's the elephant in the room, and it's just really an honor to be here. And I know that there are a lot of people out there now who are just, having a hard time, especially being at home on quarantine. It has to be really hard for a lot of families as well too. But I would just keep on pushing everyone. You can be anything that you want to be in the world. It's really up to you, and turn a negative into a positive. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We thank you for your service in our military. We thank you for your work on the front lines, for caring for people, and we really appreciate you being with us today and really sharing your experiences. I believe that hearing your story will really encourage and inspire other people. Elizabeth, you have any final words?
Just a big thank you for participating in this and our first ever at-home conference.
Awesome. I know.
And we hope that we will see you at an actual conference in the future.
For sure. I'll be there. I'll be there. For sure. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you. You take care.